Hey there, 11s. In example 11 here, I hopefully, if you remember from the early in the year, I would have taught you how to use your CAS and defining the function. Just to clarify again, this is your function. F of x is equal to 2x squared plus x. When you write f of 3, so in part A, what you're saying here is you're replacing this x value with the number 3. Essentially, you're trying to say, find when x equals 3, find what the y value or the result is. Or if you think about the function, when I substitute x equals 3, what's the value for y? That's what f of 3 means. F of 3 means when you figure it out or when you solve it, essentially what you're finding out now is you're replacing all the x values with a 3. And then when you solve it, this tells you now that you've got 2 times 9 plus 3. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 plus 3 is 21. So what that's trying to say is when x is 3, the y value is 21. That's what it's trying to say. Okay, so you can see that's essentially what this is trying to say over here. Okay, that's what f of 3 means. So on your calculator, remember when I taught you, I'm just going to go back to home and start a new page. I'm not going to save any of this at all. I'm going to add a calculator, and I always taught you to define, so menu 1, f of x is equal to, what's this? Equal to 2 times, was it 2 times x? 2x squared plus x, and we do f bracket 3 that says sub x equals 3 in, and you get 21. See that? So that means you can answer the next question. It's the same idea. If we were to do b is the same thing where you're doing f of negative 2. It just means I'm going to sub negative 2 into where x is. So it becomes negative 2 squared plus negative 2. Okay, so I'm going to do on my calculator here, f bracket negative 2, and it gives me 6. So I know the answer is 6 there. Okay, and you can do the same thing. What is f of x minus 1? And a lot of students get confused here, but essentially it's the same thing. F of x minus 1 just means I'm going to substitute where the x used to be, I'm going to replace it with x minus 1. See, the previous questions, I replaced it with a negative 2. This one, I replaced it with an x minus 1. Same thing. So it'll be 2 times x minus 1 squared plus x. So I'm going to replace it with x minus 1 again. See that? And then obviously you expand and simplify. So I'm going to do that on my CAS, x minus 1. And I should get, well, normally we expand that, but I guess that works too. So you can expand f of x minus 1. And you should get 2x squared minus 3x plus 1, but I'll prove it to you. So here we can do it by hand, and you can expand the brackets. That becomes x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus x minus 1. Expand the brackets, that becomes 2x squared minus 4x plus 2 plus x minus 1. And you can see this now becomes what, 2x squared. Negative 4x plus x is negative 3x, and then 2 minus 1 is positive 1, which is essentially what I got over there. See? Okay, so really don't get confused with the notation here. They just write it differently. But when they say f of 1 over a, that essentially just means substitute 1 over a in. So when they want you to say in D, sub f1 over a, where a cannot be 0, the reason why it can't be 0 is because if a was 0, try on your calculator 1 divided by 0. What do you get? And it will say undefined. But essentially, here, how do I work it out? This essentially just becomes f of 1 over a just means it's 2 times 1 over a squared plus 1 over a. I'm just replacing all the x's with 1 over a, and I'm going to just type it on my calculator here, f of 1 over a, and that gives me 1 over a plus 1 on a squared. Okay, there you go. Or if you wanted me to show you the algebra, which some of you may have struggled, squaring 1 over a is the same thing as 1 over a times 1 over a. So that becomes 1 over a squared plus 1 over a. And, hey, that's weird. Why did that happen? Oh yeah, that is correct. Same thing. If you multiply it together, you simply get 2 over a squared plus 1 over a. There you go. That's how you would do this question.